everything's going good over here. So, really, I think the question is like, it's just been a strange start to the year. Wouldn't you agree, Brian?
Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah.
Everybody was praying to get out of 2020, and now you hit 2021, and it's like, wait a minute. We want to leave that stuff behind. Let's move forward here. Try to get back to some type of normalcy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe this is the new norm.
Yeah,
But
it's a weird one, right? It's just something in the
it
air.
it really is. The market's been selling off a little bit lately. I know down here in North Carolina, they're starting to. I think we're at 75% capacity now for restaurants and stuff like that. You still got to wear your mask.
Hmm.
So things are starting to loosen up a little bit, which is good. I think for everybody's just sanity, really, just to get out of the house and start to be going back to what they used to do, going to dinner or whatever it may be. So
It was a weird one. We were in a restaurant last night, just celebrating my wedding anniversary, and it just felt like being out normal. You had to wear the mask going in, but it was the as well. But
yeah,
once we're in there, masks off. The service staff were wearing their masks. But it's a funny one. It's almost like, wow, we're getting back to normal now. And then does that mean that the reality's gonna kick in? That we're
yeah.
gonna start to see? Because to me, I don't know. It just feels under the surface. There's a lot that we don't know, that we're unsure about. There's been news coming out of Europe now that some of the vaccines, aren't quite as good as we were hoping, and different results. You having a feeling on that? I mean, have you had the jab in your arm yet, Brian?
No, I'm not getting it.
No.
I'm just one of those people. I'm not going to get it. I saw this morning. I think like 1,400 people have died from getting the vaccine.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So you don't hear about that though.
You
I
don't
saw
hear
it
about
on
that.
the.
And,
No,
and,
not at
and
all.
we're not here to make waves. We're not here to kind of get controversial, but we are also
Exactly. I'm not
here
here
on
to
the
do that either.
reality. The reality is, there's as much unknown. There's never in history, our history, in modern history, been a vaccine that's been created and produced as quickly and put out as quickly, which remains concerns. And I'm saying this, and no one's putting a gun against my head and making me take a shot. I'm not going to take it, because if we're 70% of people are vaccinated, we're in a good shape in that respect. I've not been one to get flu shots. I've never been one to go and do that. That's our right. I also feel that if you are somebody who wants to go and get the shot and it makes you feel happier, then go do it. It's up to you
Yeah.
what you
No.
do.
100%.
I'm not going to do it unless someone asks me to do it. And that might mean that, well, I don't want to come near. I'm like, all right, well, thank God we've got Zoom calls, right? You can talk to me over
Yeah.
Zoom.
Last Wednesday was St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
So my wife's like, "Oh, let's go out and grab a couple drinks or something like that." So we go down to an Irish pub at the end of the street here, and not one person had a mask on. It was like complete chaos in the bar. Just, I mean, the amount of people
Yep.
hovering over each other, no mask on, drinking, ordering drinks, and nobody had a care in the world. And I'm not hearing about any of, any spikes or anything like that or whatever. But, they had an outside place where you can go and have a drink, listen to a band and stuff. But a lot of people were not wearing,
Right.
masks in that environment. So I
Is there
think
any are
people
the
are just
laws there
kind of
that they
fed up.
can choose to if they want to then now? Has it already been relaxed?
Well, they are getting more relaxed, definitely. But on every storefront you walk in, it does say a mask required. But then when you sit down, you take it off, which
Yeah.
to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it is what it is.
I
I
don't know.
still
I've always
abide by the
felt
rules.
since this pandemic's been on, I've always felt more comfortable being in restaurants and things, because they have to be so proactive
Clean.
on their
Yeah.
cleanliness and their
Yeah, of
hygiene
course.
and the sanitization. I felt more at risk about going into somebody's house, which I haven't really done. So it's a
Yeah.
mixed bag. Bob Pellegrin, just a top fan of the show on here, saying he's happy in California. They're getting to 25% restaurant capacity. Still a long way to go, but California been on a tight lockdown there. Yet the irony is some of the worst cases and spikes we see on the most locked down state in the country. Interesting facts, interesting
Yeah.
findings. To me, I look at the markets right now. Let's go take a look. I think this is a reflection of it today as well. Let's go take a look at the markets, and hopefully you can see a little bit of this. Looking at the S&P 500 here from a monthly time frame that we've got up over here, weekly time frame, and daily. I think so far this month, really zooming in on that candle, that kind of says it all. Anyone who's new to the show, it's what we call a doji right now. We peaked in new highs at 397, 325. We put in lows around 3,700 and flat in the middle. I look at a candle like that and that says to me, Brian, I don't want to do anything right now. What does that chart tell you what you're seeing on there right now?
That's some indecision up there, and you're right. I remember the overall market did look tired. Looks like it was gone too far, too fast type of deal, and we needed some type of sell off or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But if you're going to trade in these markets, you got to be real careful, just because I mean these things get. I mean you see it. I mean they're tanking, further than you think in a day, or they're going up further than you think in a day, and they are just really kind of out of control. That's why it's very important to follow your rules and your discipline during these times. I'm not telling you not to trade, but if you are, just be careful.
It is, and it's an interesting one. What I'd love to do is let's go on over like one of my markets I love, trading. Let's go to is the Dow Jones. And I want to expand this particular chart here, and hopefully, I know everybody can see it, and Brian, you can see it as well as we go large. And I want to just zoom out a little bit on this chart so you can see. I mean, we look at this. Let's just zoom in on this whole period here, this wonderful uptrend that we've had. Let's put a big old line under there as we go through it. And this wonderful uptrend, and it's been there. And again, the mantra, the MO has been very simply, buy pullbacks, buy pullbacks, buy pullbacks, and it's gone. But again, I keep saying the higher it goes, it feels to me that the pullbacks just aren't coming back with that level of ferocity. And by the way, I'm not the bear. I'm not the bear who's all like, this is the end of it. It's all going, I wouldn't be surprised personally to see this market just drift higher like driftwood for the rest of this year. And historically, we tend to see those sharper fall-offs always in the back end of the year. You look at the big ones, typically at the back end of the year, things happen. We're going into the summer, things will start winding down a little bit. But it just, I still don't like it. I'm buying, but nothing's long-term right now. What have you been over the last 2 weeks? Are you still playing kind of the more short-term game on here, or do you still feel comfortable being in anything long-term right now?
Honestly, I am more of a short-term type of person right now. I've always been. Okay, I know what my strengths are, and a long time ago, I gave up having an opinion and I just trade off of really of what the market has given me. This morning I got long the M2K this morning,
That's the
couple
Russell futures,
contracts.
right? The Russell futures.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So what I did was, with the volatility in the market, stuff like that, instead of using a full-sized contract, I go down to the micros.
Okay, that's great.
They're more manageable because I could scale out, when I want to. And, I'm adjusting I don't say my system, I'm adjusting my share size with the volatility and stuff like that to fit my rules. I wanted to get long the YM earlier, but I was on some sales meeting, which took me away from it. I missed a 200-point pop. I thought 32,000 was an excellent level in the YM. It was also a measured move off of a Fibonacci measured move to the downside, and it fit a lot of my criteria for having a large time frame support zone. And sure enough, it worked out like a charm. And I was unprepared for it, so I never got into it. But that happens. That's part of trading. That's part of life. What are you going to do? But
it happens, right? I mean,
that's why when you're
chart
trading,
up for you to see it here as well. This point 3,200, big round number we can see in the markets right there, right, Brian?
Yeah, are you showing your chart? I can't see it.
Yeah, here we go. We'll just be able to see it on here for you as well. Just taking a look at the chart right now on here, and we'll take a look. There you go. Let's zoom in on this
okay.
so you can see it right now. I think the area that Brian's talking about on here, you can see just around this area here.
Exactly.
Moving over to 3,200. Quite an important, we call it a transition area, transition zone.
Big time.
Wouldn't surprise me to see a bit of bounce back. One of the things that just concerns me a little bit right now about this is all this kind of congestion that we've got here as well. The last move on here, and again, I'd love to talk to you about, I mean, sometimes you're always going to miss out on moves, but what I just don't like right now, particularly, is this extended price action that we've saw through. Now, let's just zoom out so everybody can see this. This was basically this month. Let's go full screen on here and expand this time frame out so literally everybody can see, and we'll get that off. You can see it a little bit clearer when you look at these markets here. Let's go on the auto zoom and just kind of look at this here for a second. There we go. Let's just scroll that down so everybody can see it. We had a really extended push on the market, and I'm talking about right here. And you can see if we're looking back to the left-hand side, it's been slow, steady, grinding its way higher. This always gets me concerned. To me, it's like the market's been in a sprint, or somebody's been on a marathon run, right? And they've been doing their thing, and then this is that final push, and they get over the rest, and they're exhausted. They need a bigger rest. That's what I see. And to me, at the moment on here, like I completely 100% agree with you. Like the bounce around this area, I feel that there's a lot of selling pressure still around here. It wouldn't surprise me to just see a little bit of a deeper push. Not saying that it's the end of the bull market. Gosh, no.
But I agree 100%.
People need corrections, don't they? The markets need corrections, don't you, Brian?
It's got to correct in order for it to go higher or lower, depending on which way it's going. But right now, obviously, it's going up. But I think that level that I that you highlighted right there, that support zone is going to be an initial reaction where I knew I could have caught,
Yeah.
maybe at least a 100-point move to the upside or something. But I think your target to the upside to get short is another sweet area that I will. And I'm going to be looking to make sure that we have a higher low compared to the all-time high. That'll give me confirmation that we're going to make another leg down. So if it goes up to that top box that you drew, it stops and starts going lower.
Yep.
I think we're going to break through that current support zone and maybe even test the beginning of that arrow down there.
Absolutely. And again, you don't need a lot. And like, as a day trader, we show a lot of things. We talk about,
Exactly.
if anybody looking at the show right now hasn't yet had a chance to do so, go to the StockAbility YouTube channel. Okay, I post maybe 2-3 videos a day, short 2-minute pieces of day trades that I typically take. And I'm not looking for huge moves. I'm looking to get in, capitalize. And we've talked about this a lot on the show before. Separating between that short-term mentality, medium mentality, and the long-term mentality. They're 3 different approaches. They're 3 different styles that that you've got. And I think that too many people blur the lines. And that's a great, what you just showed us there, Brian, just going back to that. That is just a great typical example, of a move like that where you could get a nice little bounce, be very profitable. I mean, a little move like that, 200 points on the Dow could make you weak. I mean, don't make the mistake of thinking, you could be a day trader and you only maybe trade twice a week. Right, that's it. Once a week.
No, you're exactly right. That's why I tell people too. I'm like, don't have daily goals. You put too much pressure on yourself. Have a weekly goal, because, like you just said, I could have took that trade today and made my whole week.
Right.
Now I'm done. Now I wrap it up. When you have daily goals, it puts too much pressure, and you don't need any additional pressure on yourself. Okay. Now I found that zone. I wasn't using the whole width of that zone because it's too much risk for me. Okay. So then that's why, multiple time frames, we can narrow it down and find that sweet spot where I know exactly where I want to get in. I know exactly where my risk is. And then I just let it go from there.
It's a nice thing.
That's all we're doing.
Yeah, that's it. And this is a plan. It's pretty dull. Business is normal. I say this to students all the time. The duller this gets, the better you're likely to do on here as well. And that's what it was about. I think setting expectations. That's the kind of thing with all of this, is setting some expectations for yourself as well. Great thing is we're getting some feedback on the show here as well. I'd love to answer the questions as they come. And we've got some questions that have already been submitted. But Panji Ramaya, just saying, hi, Sam. Right now, commenting on the show, how about Tesla? I saw still playing around in your weekly demand area support zone. Is it time to buy now? Let's go take a look at Tesla together. And I'll make this clear on this show. We're having fun on here. We're here for entertainment purposes. We are not here to recommend. We're certainly not registered brokers. But we do have our opinion. And I'll love to give you my opinion on this. And we'll take a little look and see where we're at right now on Tesla. This is a market that I feel is so overdone. It's beyond overdone, to me.
There's no chart up, by the way.
Yeah, and I'm just getting it ready for you right now. Just give me a second.
Sorry.
It's okay. This is a market. Here's the chart up right now for everybody. To me, one of my coaches that I work with in StockAbility, Dan Bustamante, he always talks about the concept of too far, too fast. Okay, and I think you're seeing that right now. 2020. How, is Tesla, this is back to this thing of value and price. 2 very, very different things. Is Tesla in the short space of time really, or was it ever a $900 stock? I'm going to beg to say fundamentally, no. There's not enough history to make it a $900 stock, but it just shows you the power of people, right? If people believe it's worth something, the bids will come in, wipe out the offers, off we go. We're a $900 stock. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what Brian thinks. It doesn't even matter what Elon Musk thinks, okay? Simple fact of the matter is people will do what people do. And then there's profit come back out of it. But what I know, whether it's valued or not, I look at moves like this, which I'm zooming in. And like I say, too far, too fast. These are things that need, to me, corrections. They need those pullbacks as they come. We were looking at this show last, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and I think Ramaya, what you're asking about specifically is this area here, and I'm going to kind of do this and I'm going to zoom in. This for me is the test right now, and the question is it a buy? This has been a buy zone. In fact, many of our students were buying in this area here, already hit the first profit targets around this particular point. My attitude is if this 550 area holds, I would not be surprised to see a retest of the highs. But to be fair, I like this better lower for a better market move on here. I think that this has got a better chance of retesting the highs from this lower area down here at 400. So this would be a classic case of this. If someone made me take a trade where we are right now, I would not want to be a seller. I want to be a buyer. But I'll tell you right now, I'd be looking to take a little bit of profit. Let's go back to this chart on here. I'd be looking to take a little bit of profit, definitely. Let's zoom in for you again a little bit more so you can all see it around this $700 mark where this purple line is. Definitely on there, because that has got me a little nervous. In fact, that's already bounced off of it. If I'm going to play the cautious card, Brian, look into the chart on the left-hand side, which is a monthly time frame. I much prefer it down here as a lower play. No way would I put my hard-earned cash on it. That would have call option written all over it. What's your thoughts on that, Brian?
I got to agree with you. And Tesla is one of the stocks that I keep an eye on. I always want to see what it's doing.
Yep.
Because I trade the NQ, and
Uh-huh.
Tesla is like 6% or something like that. It's some big number of the NQ. So I always want to keep an eye on what it's doing. But my trading got better once I started paying attention to the transition zones, which we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So that more conservative zone, the one a little bit lower, around 450, I think the number is the area I really like. And I'm noticing that 700 is actually a very strong resistance area.
Yeah.
Every time it goes up there, the sellers just kind of kick it in the butt and sell it off. But this is the best part about Tesla. Since it's a $600-700 company,
Yeah.
you can make money
Oh,
buying or shorting because of the moves.
yeah.
Okay. But as far as if your people are looking, are they asking question for a longer term investment or something? I like the lower zone.
Yeah.
Like I said, part of my rules and my trading got significantly better once I started identifying these transition zones, and on all time frames, by the way.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. And
So
what I put on here is, you mentioned that I've put ST, short term, long term.
yeah, there you
Absolutely.
go.
Right
Perfect.
now, I'd have to be, a buyer up at this point. But look to the chart on the far left where I've just circled here. In fact, let me just make that a little bit clearer. This area around 700, I'm sorry, I'm taking profit there, but I'm going in with the expectation of doing that. You've got to be methodical. You go in, you're like, that's where I'm getting out, right? If I'm long on this market, I'm going to try and squeeze $60, $80 out of it, and I'm done. And then don't be pissed if it starts going higher and start bitching about it and getting upset. You'll be like, no, that was the plan, because you're taking here, this is from a shorter term area where we've got a ton of more pressure on us. Like you say, that's a short term trade. So yeah, in the process of a small time frame, I'd all over being a buyer of it. But I know this right now, there's a lot of selling pressure in this region to push it down lower. Should the market come down to here, why have I put long term? That for me is the longer term play on a market like Tesla. And I'm not here to write off Tesla. I can tell you that right now. I think it's overpriced, but I'd want that in my portfolio, but I want to do it a cheaper way. And I've got longer term expectations, because if the market comes up, I'm going to expect ups and downs, ups and downs. And typically, if the trend is true, Brian, and I'd love your thoughts on this, if the trend is true, the bigger the pullback, the better the next move is going to be, right?
Very well could be. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. That's also like for a Fibonacci retracement type
Yeah.
of deal. That's also like the 50% mark on that
Yeah.
long-term
Yeah.
side, which I like to look at as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little things that you got to look at here. And one of the most important things that you have to do as an investor or even a short-term trader is be patient with your levels. Wait for it to come to you. Don't have the fear of missing out on something and use market orders. Have your limit
Yeah.
order in there, wait for it, and this way to me, when I used to use market orders right away, it would spur an emotion. And when you do something emotionally, it never really works out the way you want.
Right.
Okay, because you're gonna be thrown off your game per se. But that's why I find that zone, I'll tweak it, and I'll find the right area that I want, put my order in, and let it go.
It's
Okay.
typically always, I say this about emotions, as you just said.
Oh man.
And people make life is a series of decisions. People make good decisions. People make bad decisions. I always say to people, and you make bad decisions typically when you get emotional, right? When you get emotional, you end up making bad decisions. And usually when you make bad decisions, you have bad consequences, as a result of that, right? The reason why I'm bringing this up and why I'm discussing this with you right now is because, I see people, anybody I say, whenever I've met them and I get into this subject of emotions and all that kind of good stuff, I'm like, how many of you have ever got emotional about money? I ask you a question. Have you ever got emotional about money? And they're like, yeah, me. And did you make good decisions based on that? right? So many people make bad decisions because they get emotional, and the money doesn't mix well with emotions. I say to people, the best thing you can ever do when you're in investment is don't look at your P&L. Look at the chart, because you mentioned the Fibonacci retracement. There's many ways to slice the bread, many ways to skin the cat. You know, we like to adopt approach at StockAbility where it's just one thing we just keep doing, repeat, repeat, repeat. It's pretty dull, but it's effective and it works for our students and it works for us. But the point is the market will live a trail of breadcrumbs, but you've got to build a case and you've got to be willing to look for those breadcrumbs, right? You know, and this
100%.
this is a question that this ties in beautifully to a question I'd like your opinion on. We can go and apply this to a chart right now. And Willie Ramea, great, thanks for asking about Tesla. Keep them coming, guys, as you're coming in, by the way. Chris, Todd, Sidon on here, Bob Pellegrin, big shout out to Phil Scarborough on there, Dana Joyce. All of you guys, thanks for viewing. Keep the questions coming. But the question I've got is, I had a message come in from a show I know I have to go a million miles an hour. You don't see a script on this show, right? I got about different screens going on. Funny. But I'm looking at it down here right in front of me right now. And I had a student out on the West Coast, okay, Northern California area, Maria, who messaged watching the show a couple of weeks ago. And she said, you know, every time I see you pulling up the charts, you always seem to have just clean looking charts. You just draw your boxes on there. I don't see price and technical indicators, okay? Do you use them? And what do you recommend? I'll give you my take on it in just a second, and I don't want to get Brian's take on it. But before I do that, you know, let's go over to the charts. What are technical indicators? If I just blow up a chart right here, and I'm going to just make this big so everybody at home can see this, and you can see it as well. So let's just zoom in the chart right now, Tesla. And, you know, looking at this chart, you see here at the top left-hand side, maybe some of you guys see says studies on here. And this is on the platform I happen to be using right now. I use multiple platforms. I just use this for the sake of the show. I'm going to click on that. And then you're going to say add study. And then it gets really interesting, because if you click on a button that says all studies, here's the alphabetical list of all of the different studies that you can see. I'm going to guess there's probably about 200 different technical studies and indicators on there, okay, from crossovers, candlestick patterns, Elliott studies, LBR studies, license studies. So my question is where do you begin? I don't use any of those charts. What are your thoughts on indicators, Brian? And let's answer Maria's question on here, because as you can see, we like to keep it clean.
I think that most people who use indicators, don't even know how to use them correctly. That's number one. Number two, in trading and probably in life as well, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Okay. You know, if you start adding more and more indicators to your chart or your analysis, you know what happens? You get paralyzed. Paralysis by analysis. Well, I'm in a support zone, but the moving average is saying this, the RSI is saying that, the MACD is saying this. Stop. You're overcomplicating something that should not be this complicated. Look, trading is not hard. Okay. It's not easy, but you want to keep it simple. Okay. And simple means just use, you know, what the chart is giving you. Where is the price action happening? When you start adding these indicators, you start confusing yourself. And on that subject as well, people start to follow different people all the time, and they cherry pick different things that they do. Like, oh, I was watching this one guy, he uses MACD. I watch this other guy, he uses Bollinger Bands. Next, you know, their chart looks like a complete mess.
I always say you put too much, it looks like a Chinese New Year celebration. All the colored lights all over it and everything, you know.
Yeah, just keep it simple. You know, you don't need all that stuff to be successful. You really don't. Okay, just simplify it, break it down. Follow a system that works, and simplicity is the answer.
What a lot of people do is they're looking for a red light buy signal, red light, green light buy sell signal. But the problem is there's going to be times in the market where you shouldn't even be considering buying. You should be waiting for opportunities to sell, or there's going to be times when you should only be focusing on buys. So unless you've got a good idea of how that works, which is great. And, you know, as you know, we have the pattern pending location analysis and overt system that we use, which just gives us a framework of, hey, these areas I'm buyer, this is an area I'm a seller, this is the area I do nothing. And that's not based on indicators. That's based on price. And also a lot of people don't understand. It's like I could put, you know, buy and sell indicators on here. Let's go over to the chart and do this in real time, because, you know, this is the best way to answer it. Let's go look at something else right now. Let's go put in I don't know, let's go take a look at Facebook. Let's look at a different chart.
Sam, real quick. So this morning, part of the my process, I follow the overt system. And it was one of the things that helped me tell me to get long the M2K this morning,
Hmm.
and also to get long the YM, which I did not take that trade, obviously, but that was part of the process, part of my system. There's a couple of things that I use, and that's it.
I don't need to look at anything on this chart as well to see right now, apart from the fact that where we are on here, I am only bullish on Facebook right now on this chart. I should only be bullish on this chart right now unless the price breaks through this lower area of around, you can see it here, 275. If we break 275, fine, but right now I would only be bullish on this market, and people go, well, expect it just going to go up from this area in one fell swoop. It doesn't always. It could spend some time here and then go up, right? It's more about knowing what you
Exactly.
need to be doing now. I've eliminated the opportunity of going as a sell right now because of that very reason. I see this. Peggy Jerome just commented on the show right now as well. And I heard Ryan say once, trading isn't easy, but it is simple. It is simple, not easy. Massive one, Peggy, as
Exactly.
well.
Exactly.
Spaghetti is meant to be eaten, right? Yeah, not drawn all over your charts. I love that, Peggy. And that's it. And then the problem you get is that when, you look at the studies and so on, and you can get all the quick studies and some of the classics. So you can look at all the popular studies on here, and then we can start looking at I don't know, yeah, let's look at kind of let's look at an RSI, on here and apply it and just show what it looks like. Wow, look, I got a signal now, where I can be a buyer or seller above these areas. I could then actually add on another one. So let's go and add on another quick study, one of the market strength ones on here. My God, there's so many on this as well. The McLean Summation Index. Wow, let's take a look at that. I mean, it looks like just another line to me, right? We could get even more classic on here. We can just turn around and say, well, all right, let's just go like on a real good kind of one on here. Let me go and find a good old fashioned one on here. Let's take a look and see. Let me just find it for you, Brian. Got supported. Oh, there's pivot lines, there's source code, there's profile studies, monkey bars. We've got a ton of different moving averages on here as well. Man, there are a lot. I was looking for this. Let me go take on here. Ah, there you go. That's the one I wanted to do. The MACD with two lines. This one always makes your charts look pretty fancy.
I saw one called an alligator on there.
Oh, the
too.
alligator. Oh, we can add the alligator on there.
I don't even know what that is.
The alligator, I believe. Yeah, the alligator one would come up under a lot of the moving averages ones as well. Let's just see if it's under. The point is, there's a ton of different studies on here that are going to give you buy and sell signals. The problem is this: every single one of these buy and sell signals, like we're getting an overbought signal right now. The price has to give the signal to the indicator, which means the indicator's following price, which means it's lagging. It's not like chicken and egg. What comes first, right? Mother comes before child. That's the way it is, right? And this point in this is any indicator that you look at, by the time it gives you that buy or sell signal, it's typically too late because the market's already moved to confirm the signal. You will never get ahead of the game if you just do that. Now, can you be profitable by just following those kind of signals? The answer is, yeah, of course you can. You can be profitable doing anything. I've seen people be profitable by using this, but you don't get a lot of signals, or you do get too many signals, should I say. You have to be ruthless in your study, and you never get the best risk to reward ratio. And then again, a question I'd ask anyone if you click on something like this is, okay, what one's the right one? It's like the Cheesecake Factory. You go in there, you look at the menu, there's 450 items, and all you really want is a piece of cheesecake at the end of it, right? So, it's the thing. I like, and I've always focused, Brian, on price action,
Yeah, me too.
Tell us a little bit about, how you would define price action then.
Well, this is going to be very interesting, and it's going to tie into what I used to do for a living.
Yep.
And one of the reasons why I really follow those transition zones. So some of you may not know this, that I used to work on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. I was a broker for Bear Stearns, and my job was to execute the institutional order flow. And when I got a buy order, it wasn't to buy 100 shares. It was to buy 1 million shares, 500,000 shares, whatever it was, whatever. And when I walked into a crowd where the specialist was, whoever was, whatever stock was, say it was Coca-Cola, I don't know, and say Coke was trading at 53, and I walk in and a buyer, and there's two sellers at 53. They offer me, I don't know, 200,000 shares. I buy those right away, but I still leave 800,000 shares to buy. So I'm waiting and waiting and waiting for the sellers to come back to see if they want to offer me any more because I bid them for more.
Right.
Now also they come back and they start offering price up. Now, as price goes higher and higher and higher, okay, you could see on a chart that where the sellers were making sales, and then when I bought it and the market started to go higher from there, when it retraces back down to that transition area, the buyer is waiting there with more ammo to buy, even though he bought some on the way up because he's got to stay involved. Because
Right.
that order could be not a million shares, it could be 25 million shares. These big institutions who have mutual funds, pension funds, things of that nature, they're not buying just a million shares. To create a position, they're going to be holding 25, 30 million shares. You could look at the holdings of anything. You can go to Vanguard and look at their holdings and stuff. But getting back on track, those transition areas really, to me, are significant where you could see that where old resistance is new support.
Yep.
And then I wait for those zones to come back on all different time frames. And just by using that alone, I'm telling you, my trading has gotten better and it's given me more confidence. Which when people start using all these different indicators and adding more things, they lose confidence because they lost their way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you have a root of a tree or a trunk of a tree, and that's like, all right, you have a good foundation, right? And all of a sudden it starts going up and like, oh, you branch off because you're listening to one guy about a Bollinger Band, you listen to another guy about a MACD. Next thing you know, you're like, I'm losing money. I don't know what I'm doing. I lost my way because you're making it too complicated. Just find a system that works for you and stick with it. Okay. That's why cherry picking ideas from different people could be catastrophic for you.
I always said it's really interesting you said this. I did this. I teach students, right? And for a very long time, and anyone interested in getting some real education with anything, you've got to stick to the person you gravitate towards and give that person a
Yeah.
chance. Because I'd teach people exactly what I did, and there was some would follow it to the T and have great results, and some would say, "Oh, that's really awesome," and then they come back to me 6 months later and be like, "Hey, I'm looking at this guy now, and his stuff's really awesome," and I'm like, you know why?
Yes.
That stuff seems so awesome to you. They're like, why? I said, because you're not consistent yet. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I told you to just try this one thing, yet you've not done that. You're now trying other things. And every new idea that comes your way is the best thing since sliced bread. It wouldn't be. I said, people come if you were consistent already. Like, how many of those things do you stick to? Because, the simple fact of the matter is, I've not studied a new way of trading or investing for probably over a decade now. I'm simply not interested. I don't care. I have a process. I have a system. It works. I don't want to be distracted by anything else. Now, that doesn't mean I disrespect anybody else's stuff. God, no. The completely opposite. But I just say, I don't care if you stick to my thing or just somebody else. Just stick to something, right? And that's what's really
100%.
key. And like you said, keep it real simple. I mean, look, going back over to you were talking about the Dow Jones this morning. And let's go zoom in on this chart on the left-hand side here. We've just got a small time frame chart that we're looking at right now. But this is how easy it needs to be, right? We are in an area right now here.
Did it fill the gap? It filled the gap.
At 32,300, it's very simple, right? This area that we're looking at right now, if the price cannot break through this area, we're likely to go back down, okay? If the price can break through this area and trade above it, we're likely to go back up. This is your line in the sand. Don't make it any more complicated. Now, what I'm not giving you are specific rules for entry. What I'm not giving you is big picture outlook, overall value. I'm not giving you an entry signal. I'm not giving you targets. I'm not giving you trade management. That's where the complexity comes. But price action analysis doesn't have to be that complicated, And most people haven't got the guts to just go on a call and make a call. Well, I'm telling you right now, if you're going to take a trade on the Dow, your lowest risk trade is to get short on the thing, not buy it. You want a good chance to buy it? Well, you've already missed out on a good move. So you either need a break higher and a pullback, or you need a deeper pullback and go long lower. Otherwise, you want to trade that bad, you get short. You've got to think about the opportunity now. And that's what price action is. What is the opportunity now? There's always going to be an opportunity, right? There's also an opportunity to do a lot of wrong things. Give yourself price studies right now. And again, I'm bearish on it right now because it looks to me like there's a pressure. Well, guess what? I'll know if it breaks out this area because it will go higher. Then I can always readjust my thinking. Brian, some of the best trades I get are when I get it wrong. I trade at the open of the day. I get it wrong, completely wrong, and I sit back, I reassess and go, I'm wrong, but it's given me a new message. I'm listening to the clues. Now I'm going to reverse my thinking with a smart entry. End up having one of the best days I've ever had. That happens a lot. Sometimes when I get stopped,
well said.
Sometimes the best trades I have are the ones after I've been stopped out because I'm listening. It's when you get attached to an idea that the trouble comes. You understand? And I think that too much opinion is a dangerous thing, you know? It's
Well, you were saying before, when to get long and when to get short, stuff like that. But also keep in mind when not to do anything. You know
right?
that I mean that's the hard part because people are like I got to make money today. I got to make money today. I got to get in. And what are you doing? You're taking a
Forcing it.
trade that you should never take, forcing it, becoming emotional. And what's likely going to happen? You're going to get stopped out. Then all of a sudden, like you know what?
I
Got
want
a
my money
revenge
back.
trade.
Click,
Yeah, the
click,
revenge. And now you are
click,
hopped up on
click.
adrenaline and you are
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, that's it. Don't be
So,
afraid to make a call. Don't be
you
afraid to make
know,
a call. There's a
yeah,
good chance of this thing going down at this particular point, so that's all great. If you don't want to take the short on here and you say, well, I want to be a buyer, don't be buying it here. Either buy it lower or wait for it to break higher, and then it will give you another signal. Price action will tell you everything you need to be. Now, as a swing trader, based on where we are, there's not really anything I want to do. As a day trader, there could be a short-term short. But again, you've got to fit into the context of what your style is as well. It's always about context on all of these kind of stuff. I love that. And I love that initial question as well. So to us here, in the way that we work it and the way we operate everything, we are price action traders as well. Got a little bit of time for one more question on here as well. This one is coming from Steve. He's in Minnesota. He's actually said on us as well, you've mentioned about over trading. And having risk control by loss limits. How do you enforce loss limits? I find it difficult, and I can read that question and I'm like, actually, it's a simple context, right? At a certain amount I stop for the day, or at the amount I stop for a week. It seems to me, reading between the lines of your message on here, that you have trouble sticking to those. I can relate to that. I'm going to stop if I have 3 losses and I'm done for the day. Or if I have, 4 losses across the week, I'll write the week off and come back as well. Hard to sometimes enforce. I guess it goes back to what you were saying before, right, Brian? You want to make your money back. No one likes being a loser.
right, right. You're absolutely right. I mean, that's when you start over trading, you're now gambling.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. And you gotta, take a step back. If you have 2 losses in a row, or something, force yourself, get up, walk away. The market's always going to be there. Because if you jump right back in again, you're most likely going to lose, or you're going to make your money back and not get it because you think it's going to go higher or lower, depending on what your position is. And then you're going to wind up taking a loss anyway, because now you feel like you need to make that money back. Playing from behind is not easy all the time. Okay. But forcing yourself to get up and going for a walk for 15 minutes, punish yourself, make yourself do push-ups or something. I don't know, just anything. But you need to discipline yourself and saying, all right, 2 losses in a row, I'm getting up and going for a walk.
Yeah.
Get away from the computer, clear your head. I walk my dog, or I used to. Okay. He's still around, my buddy. But, when I was first trading on my own from home,
Yeah.
okay, it was very different from when I worked on the floor. Very different. I had to learn from scratch, basically, how to read a chart,
Right.
what it was I looking for, and things of that nature. And, but, I was a little reckless in the beginning. And after a while, said, you know what, if you want to do this for a career or long term, you need to have a systematic rules to follow, which is discipline, patience, and everything. And the more that I really understood what that meant, the better I got.
Mm-hmm.
And I only limit myself to maybe 3 or 4 trades a day total. Okay. If I have 2 losses in a row, I get up and I go for a walk. I might look at something in the afternoon, but then I take a step back and I go, is there really anything here for me today to trade? Am I
Right.
trying to force something? If that's the case,
Yeah.
turn it off, go do something else.
Yeah.
And that's the self-discipline that you really need.
You do. And one of my students, remember, once turned around to me and saying, I said that, and you got to walk out, have a 15-minute break, put yourself in the sin bin, they call it in ice hockey, take yourself out the game for a little bit. I find it hard to do that. I'm like, well, take a walk, I can't get a dog, go for a walk, do it. You need to do something. Now, over the years, for me, one of the biggest distractions I have is running a company is a great distraction. I have a limited window of time that I can do. But I guess I've taken too many knocks to the head, and I've got, now it's been slapped into me, the importance of that control by experience and staying in the game long enough to do it, and knowing it's not all about one day. And Peggy was just saying on here, suggestion, make plans for your day. Once you hit your target or a great dollar, know what you can do next with your day, turn off the computer, walk away. One of the things I'd love to comment, it's a great suggestion. One of the challenges I find with a lot of people as well sometimes when that happens, Peggy and Brian, is you have a daily goal. Let's say my daily goal is like $500 a day, right? You hit that goal, you stop, right? And then you're great, and it's good, and you hit stop, and you pat yourself on the back for being disciplined because you're like, hey, I hit my goal, I'm not greedy. Then the next day when you take a couple of losses and you're down 600, You keep making it back. You keep entering it to make it back, to get back to your goal. And before you know it, you've taken a $2,500 hit and given all your money back. I found sometimes it can be very easy to stop when you're winning and very hard to stop when you're losing. So if you are going to employ a system like that, like Peggy's saying, and I'm all for that, by the way, I'll make that very clear. You need to understand that your down days have to be controlled just as much as your up days. If you're going to go in with a dollar amount, you need to make sure that if my average goal is, say, $1,000 a day, well, guess what? Your average losing day should be about $300 a day, right? If your average winning day is 200, you need your average losing day to be about 100, less than 100. You have to think about that because it will eat into those profits. And again, that's why always there's another day. And another great way around that, guys, I'd say, Brian, which I think you've progressed to, and I'd love you to discuss, is I think I don't go in with a goal anymore of an amount to make. Like, I have an idea of what I'd like to get out of the day. But some days I'll have bigger days than others because I let the charts show me where the targets are. And most people, it's great to have a goal, a daily profit goal. My daily profit goal is based on my location analysis. My daily profit goal is based on my system. And some days the chart's telling me, you know what? You've got a 5-to-1 move on the cards here. Some days it'll tell me there's an 8-to-1 move on the cards. But you know what? Some days it'll say, dude, there's only a 2-to-1 move on the cards. That's about being a good analyst, I think. What are your thoughts on that, my friend? And then we'll look at your call and my put before we go.
You know what? I think you are exactly right with that. Like this morning, both those trades, the one that I took and also the one that I did not take, it was low in my location analysis area where I knew I can get a lot more out of it. Kind of like the home run, if you want to call it that. Where there are other days where if I take a trade, it's like, all right, I'm going to get in, but I can't let it run as far. I got to be more disciplined on where my targets are going to be and realistic. Like, everybody wants to get into a trade and hit the grand slam. 100%. I get it. I understand it. But where are you getting in is also something you need to sit back and look at. Am I in the right area? Which Sam, you were talking about with the location analysis. If I'm in the top area of my location and I'm shorting it, you know what, then I can let it run a little bit more. But if I'm in the middle somewhere and I want to take a trade,
yeah,
I'm going to have tighter target areas. Okay. Because what happens most of the time, when I go back and I check out my journaling and stuff like that, it's, well, you know what, you tried to go for the home run or whatever it was, where if you would have stuck to what your rules say and get out at this point, take the money and run, take the money and run. It's okay sometimes to hit singles and doubles. It really is. You could be in the Hall of Fame if you hit these singles and doubles, but you got to know when to let it run, right, or when to start scaling out. That's the hard part. But through experience and having confidence in your system, that's when you're going to be able to accomplish that.
And again, I'm not here to pour cold water, or, I'm not one of those guys. I'll never be in public, saying bad about anybody or anything. Everything works for everybody if you allow it, right? I always say everything works until it doesn't, right?
Yes.
But I get very frustrated when I have people who come to me and go, oh, I learned a way of trading, and the person who taught me says I should only go for 3-to-1s, and that's all I do. And I'm like, that's stupid, because then you get into a point of view where you get loggerheaded that every winning trade has to be a 3-to-1, when sometimes the market doesn't want to give you a 3-to-1. And then you're taking 3-to-1s on the days where the market says you should have been going for 10-to-1. They've never been explained on how price action can show them what the true market potential is. And guys, you'll never nail every high and every low. But let me say this, if you're a listener of the show and you're active in the market and you struggle with your profit taking, part of the reason you're struggling with your profit taking is you don't know how to take a profit because you've not learned how to read the market objectively to see. Some days it's a 2-to-1 day. That's what the market's telling me. If it goes on to do more, I don't care, because my system told me it was a 2-to-1 day. And I've got enough consistency in that plan to trust that. And that's what it's about. It's about letting go. It becomes very cathartic, very zen-like when you have something you follow religiously, because in the long run it plays out. You stop caring and you just take what the market's showing you, right, Brian? It's very liberating. I feel like you're getting to that kind of enlightenment a little bit as well.
Yeah, like you were saying, you got to know when to get out at 2-to-1 or 10-to-1. And there are times when you get into trades like, you know what, I did my analysis. All right, I know I can get at least 2-to-1 out of this. Let me get out. And then what happens? It starts trading up there, it gets closer and closer, and all of a sudden your opinion kicks in, and it says it looks like it's going to run.
And your opinion just doesn't matter, does it?
No, it's going to slap you in the face is what it's going to do. So it goes through your target of 2-to-1, turns around and takes you out flat or for a small loss. And then you kick yourself because, you know what? Getting back to what I was saying, location analysis is going to tell you where to get in, where to get out of 2-1 or 10-1 or 8-1 or whatever it may be. Like today, it was a great location analysis for me to say this could have been a runner, and I was looking for that gap fill up to the area in the YM where I think it's trading right now. But if you stick to your rules and find these high quality areas where the probabilities are in your favor, that's what you got to do. Don't chop and chase on a 1 minute chart in between. That's how you're going to blow up your account. Have a strict, system to follow. Identify on the location analysis where it's going to be a choppy day, where you get out of your 2-1s. Like, these are some things that over time it's going to make sense to you, and then you're not going to feel like you have to make money every day. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Have a weekly goal, because if you follow your rules the way they're supposed to, like location analysis, you let that runner go for
Yeah.
10-1, you just made your week.
Done.
You
You
just
might
made
say
your
I'm taking
week.
the rest of the week off. Yeah, and it gets
Yeah,
really
that's
nice
what it
because
is.
like this week, I've been away for a couple of days, my anniversary. I'm feeling pretty chilled, to be honest with you, after all of the treatments I had yesterday. Hopefully you can see my glowing skin from it all, which is good.
Nice.
That'll just be my studio lighting. Right, but anyway, the thing is, I don't really want to trade much. I'm not interested in doing any trading today. Maybe I might do a bit tomorrow because I have a more relaxed attitude that there's plenty of opportunity tomorrow. There's plenty of opportunity next week. And that's I think a sign when you're in a different place as well. It's a great thing. And any of you guys who might be wondering, what we're talking about here, you're hearing location analysis, overt system. We do a lot of regular. We don't like to. This show we never like to usually do a ton of promotion or anything like that. But let me take you over to here, and I'm going to just move this down because obviously Brian's head is in the way there on the video, so I'm going to move it down. But we'll do it there. StockAbility.com is a website to go to, and if you're interested in finding a little bit more out about what we do, go to the website, scroll on down, and you right to the bottom, and you will see the next complimentary webinars that we have all here that you are more than free to attend. We're going to be repeating the really popular one we did about a month ago called the Crisis Proof Business. That's next Wednesday at noon Eastern time. Great time. I love doing them then. Gives a lot of people opportunity to join that. Then really, if you like, specifically about what we're talking about here, the concept of extra income, side hustle, location analysis will be so critical. If you're doing that, want to find out more about that, I suggest you join us 7th of April, 5 Eastern for trading from side hustle to full-time income. And then we'll be repeating that complimentary webinar on April 20th, 12 p.m. If you're like, I can't wait that long, that's okay as well. You're looking about a week or so. There's going to be on-demand webinars on the website that you can look at in your own time as well. Or you can always get in touch with us and have a chat as well. We've got one lovely little chat bot over here we can have a chat to as well, which is a real person behind there who never ever leaves the computer as well, who's happy to talk to you as well. But if you want to find out a little bit more of that, I know you work with a lot of students, Brian, on that too as well. That's a great place where we'll show you a little bit more about what we do in respect to that as well. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I mean, I could probably talk about this stuff with you all day, Brian, just talking about this, but it's a great subject. And Willie on there, another concept on there. Steve Hanaho was 100% correct about you. I'm from Indonesia. Thanks a ton, Sam. Steve Hanaho talking about another trading instructor out there who I mentored for a while. Good guy. I mentored him and taught him many years ago. So that's very kind to say. He's always been very kind to me. It's a lovely comment as well. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And much good vibes back to you. Let's do your call, my put. We're at the top of the hour. Brian, I always want to do a short show. You come on here and then we end up like gassing and chatting. It's always good though. I think when you like a subject and it's fun, definitely it comes from you. You got a passion about helping people really do this the right way. And it's nice to talk about it as well. So we really enjoy it too. Bullish or bearish? I know what I am today, but I always give my guest the first, bite of the cherry. You bullish or bearish? Your call, my put. What's it going to be?
I'll go with the call.
You're going with good. I had a bearish one lined up. What are you looking at, my friend?
All right. Oil, I like around the $53 level, 53.50-ish.
So this is for a bullish play, yeah? So you're looking at something bullish here. Let's go on over to the charts and see. Oil. Now, oil, I mean, you want to talk about textbook price action analysis. And again, this is never going to be one of those shows where we're saying, we told you. But we did tell you oil was going to at least $65 a barrel for quite some time, right? You could be testing. How many times have you been on the show where I've been bleating on about that?
The last time I was on the show, I actually said on the way up I wanted to short it around 63.
Yeah.
So I was a little premature on my entry for the short side. But that's why you have stop losses. That happens, But the pullback, I like the 53. I think it's 53.50 area. I think on a daily chart. I was looking at.
This area here, maybe you're looking a little bit around as well. I can see we got variation. This, to me, does need a bigger pullback. After the run that it's had, a bigger, healthier pullback on this. I'm seeing a nice amount of buying pressure, and I'm thinking, Brian, you're talking probably somewhere around this area here.
Well, actually, no. No, I'm sorry. You know what? I might have written down the wrong price. I'm sorry. I'm talking about the area that's a little bit lower than that.
A bit lower still. Well, you are cheap. I know that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I'm conservative. I want things to come to me. You know,
you're looking a little bit lower. Let's go over to this daily chart over here and take a look. Are you looking around this area where the gap is, or a little bit lower? Talk about it.
Right, a hair above that.
Around here maybe, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, let's go mark
What
off
is that?
line. So I'm going to tell you, this is going to be around about $55 or so.
Yeah, that's the area. Yeah, exactly. That's the area.
So let me tell you, you're looking probably around 55.50 to 54. Yeah, this buck 50 area you're thinking around.
Yeah, in that general area.
Lovely.
Yeah, I want to see it hold there.
Yeah,
if not, you got another one right below it, right there. Yep.
Two areas. So overall, that combines quite nicely with what we're seeing over here as well. We're seeing something real nice over here. This whole $50 area, for me, that is your line in the sand. I talk about lines in the sand a lot. That, for me, is the line in the sand. You know, if oil's not holding at that area there, we got lower side, $35 all day long. Easy. That's the thing. There's the price action we're talking about right now. If this market doesn't hold in these areas we're talking about for a nice bounce, then my thinking is we're probably going to retrace, and we're going to be going down here, and we're going to be coming all the way down to about $35. The thesis has already been worked out ahead of time. Do I need an indicator to do that? Good luck finding a technical indicator that's going to tell you that. To give you a plan like that, right, Brian? Nothing's going to give you a plan like that. That's price analysis.
But even I think that first zone of around the $54, $53 area.
Yep.
I think you're gonna be amazed when it does hit that area. I guarantee you it will pop out a little bit. Whether or not there's follow through, that's to be determined.
Yeah.
But if not, then I could see us retesting that 54, then breaking through and going a little bit lower.
Nice. I'm still just, I'll give you one added on. I've been looking at a lot, which I'm really surprised. And we were talking about this on the show last week, Dan Bustamante and I. I'm still expecting a little push for Apple right now in such an important area. This $120 area on Apple, this is just a bonus outlook I'm giving you. But this 120 mark on here, a lot of price action here, a lot of chopping and churn. But based on this overall market as well, I still remain bullish. I still feel that we are in a critical area for Apple right now where we're going to get us. And if we don't get it, I'm not writing this off. I feel for Apple, we've got a lot of room for wiggle around this $110 mark on this. I can't write her off. That's a value stock for me, though. Apple's a value play now, We were talking about the growth versus the value. This is a value company now, and it will continue to grow, but with the products it's offering and some from a fundamental view, for me, this is a pretty cheap buying opportunity on Apple to add it to the portfolio. Again, I wouldn't be going with cash with this. Options, maybe some long-term leads, short-term options, a little bit of combination, but it's just a little bonus on there. It keeps trying, and I've seen this kind of accumulation and distribution pattern, which really psychs a lot of people out, and then they end up closing out their positions because they think it's not going to go, and then they wake up and bang, the thing's all way back up here again. It's lagging behind the market. But you know what? Considering the sell-offs we've seen and some of the sharp corrections, it's done pretty well, I feel. Overall, it's holding its way up there. But that's on the plays on there as well. But I got to say, and people hate me for it, but I'm still so bearish on Zoom. Now, you know me. I've been bearish on Zoom. Do you remember I have been bearish on Zoom from up here at 450? Again, that's what I love. Go back, look at the previous shows. I've been bearish on this thing from 450. Today, where are we at? We are at 314. Okay, this thing is in. I'm getting pretty passionate about it, but I think this market was so overdone, Brian. I think it just was a pandemic play. It was driven up by people who don't really know anything about it. They'll think they're being clever. Oh, everyone's going to need Zoom because of the pandemic. Yeah, well, Zoom was never a $600 stock, ever. It's
this ties into what you said earlier. Too far, too fast.
Too far, too fast. Look at it and look where it goes. And Zoom, you've got so much work to do, right, on your streaming platform. You have got so much to do on there. Zoom, why do we love Zoom? We love Zoom because it's easy to use. Let's get fundamental for a second. But we use Zoom because it's easy. It's got easy to set up meetings. It's got a great interface. It's got great drawing tools. But when it comes to streaming quality, it ain't good. There are much better options out there. They could be doing a lot more. To me, I've said this from a fundamental point of view, they are not breaking the mold. They are not. They have ease of use, but they have got to step up as a company, start offering high definition streaming for people who want to be online, not this poor version that they do. They've got to do that. They're expensive for what they are. There's a lot of cheaper alternatives out there that are free that people could be using right now. I like Zoom as an interface, but this fundamentally is just such one of the most overpriced markets I've seen. And I got to say to you right now, 250 is the best chance this market's got right now, Brian. I look at this chart, I'm zooming in this middle one, and I feel like I'm ranting, and sometimes I do, but 250 for me is the only place I'm interested in this for a bounce right now. Breaking these lows, I want to see these current lows broken. This monthly chart is bearish to me. I gotta say, this has just got 250 written all over it. How would I want to get short on something like this? I don't know, like a break of the current lows. I'd be willing to get short and buy puts on this thing. I really would. I would love even more to be waiting for another retracement back up to this area here. I'm just not sure if I'm going to get it. If we do, great. But right now, this has got momentum written all over it. Feel free to disagree with me, but I just think this thing's just... I think it's a better stock at 150, to be honest with you, even lower. But that's just me.
I like the 250 mark. I mean, you could obviously see that we took out that previous low in that middle chart. I can't see the date, what time frame that is exactly.
What one are you looking at, Brian? I'll zoom in for you.
The one in the middle right there.
Yeah.
It took out the previous low. You know, the highs were previous highs were lower highs. You got lower lows working. Right? 100% in a downtrend right now. But also think about this fundamentally. You know, the market leads and tells you what's going to happen, you know, for a couple of years out and things like that. Okay, I know I said last time I knew Biden was going to win the election when all the solar stocks were taken off.
Yep.
That was just like my little clue. Now Zoom selling off the way it is could be, these big institutions could be saying, you know what, the kids are going back to school, corporations are going to start going back to their office and stuff like that. There's going to be less of a need for Zoom. Okay, so now the price is a little crazy. It was a pandemic
play. It was a
pandemic play, 100%.
And on that subject, Brian, I'll be honest with you as well. I think the work at home revolution, I think it's short lived. I think that there's been a lack of productivity. People aren't as disciplined as they were. I know companies are all looking at like, oh, look how much money we've saved, you know, from rentals and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is with this, the reality is people need routine.
Interaction.
People need to be together. And I think that my play on this, you want to look at this, I think, you know, you want to be starting to look at airline stocks, you want to be looking at restaurants, you want to be looking at casinos, you want to be looking at entertainment. People are itching to get back out there in the world. And I think exactly what you said, we factored in, this is a pandemic play, and Zoom is just one of many solutions, right? That's what I feel, you know. Putting all your eggs in Zoom, whew, I would not want to be a long-term Zoom shareholder right now. That ain't good. It's not good, and this needs to come down. Mohammed's just saying, what about the gap below the current zone? 107, 109. Dude, your thinking is wonderful. I love it. You know, you are looking real low all the way down at this area, even further below. We've got a long way to go, but yeah, I mean, I love it cheap. I think it's a great... you know what? It's not... I'd want to put a tiny bit of my portfolio into something like Zoom. There's a lot of options out there. You know, and we use it because it's easy, but, you know, it doesn't always mean it's great. So I'm remain bearish on Zoom. To be clear on that, I need another break. I'd like to see a short below the 300. This is a great opportunity. If I want to get sloppy on my entry, as I call it, I could be buying puts, you know, on something like that as well. So that's my play on there. Awesome. I love the discussion today, Brian.
Yeah, good stuff.
What I love about this show as well is like we just talk, we say what we feel, you know, and you've made some pretty good calls on the show. You know, we'll always put our money where our mouth is as well. Oh, that's an added one for you, Mohammed. Yeah, I mean, Mohammed's talking about Apple. So the Zoom one I like lower, but absolutely down the hundreds. I can't write Apple off, Mohammed. He's just saying, what about 107, 109? I meant that. Down there, my friend, let's take a quick look at it. I can't resist right now. I'm a long-term Apple guy. I can't write it off, and I won't write it off. You know, it's
You know, one thing I was thinking real quick was I thought tech was like a sector rotation type of thing, where NASDAQ was getting really sold off.
Yeah.
And I thought people were taking money out and maybe going to other things, like healthcare. I saw was going up, financials were going up. So I thought it was selling out of that, buying into the other ones. Yeah. But now the other two are selling off too. So that theory kind of went out the window.
And you got to adapt though, and you have to adapt. But I'm going to just bring this up right now. I mean, you want a really good buying opportunity on this thing? I'll tell you where you want to be buying. Where you want to be buying apples, you want to be buying Apple down here, just below 100, right? That's where you want to be buying. I'm just not sure if it's going to get there anytime soon. If we get a major financial crisis, absolutely. But the thing is this, if we get another major financial crisis, which in time we will, I'm not going to be buying even Apple down there. I'd expect the bounce, but that's where you're going to be buying Apple down at like long-term lows, you know, where you keep a bit of cash. But that's something we'll guide you through as we do this. TakeStock, no matter whether it's wind, rain, sunshine, where the market's going up, down, or sideways, we will be here on TakeStock Live giving you our opinion. And remember, our opinion is literally for educational and entertainment purposes only. Brian and I are not registered brokers, and we have no desire to be registered brokers. God forbid. We're happy just doing our thing, and off we go. You've been in Wall Street, Brian. You left it for a reason, and that is it. But yeah, Mohammed, I like what you're showing us there, and I do like that, and I have no problem with that whatsoever as well. So, yeah, made some good calls over the last few weeks, Brian. We've had some good calls on the show. Love it, and we always appreciate it as well. We like to track those as well. And when we get it wrong, we own it, and when we get it right, we own that too. It's all good. What's the rest of the week looking like for you, my friend, before I let you go?
I got a bunch of calls to make this afternoon.
Do some coaching,
I got a bunch of
your students, yeah.
coaching calls to make with some people, you know, that just need a little clarity on some things. And pretty much the same script tomorrow. And I got to go pick my wife up from the airport a little bit later today.
Excellent. So a little bit of family time at the weekend. I know she's busy in New York, right? Staying safe and so on.
My week vacation is over as of this afternoon.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'll let you explain that one. All right. So listen, it's always a pleasure, never a chore. Thank you for having the time on the show. We appreciate you very much. Join us in a couple of weeks, my friend, I hope. Yeah.
All right, buddy. You got it anytime. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Brian. That's wonderful. Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Brian Dumaresq of StockAbility on there as the student momentum coach, just joining us to offer insights. We've had fun. Like today, I was like, we're going to keep this show relaxed. We're going to have some fun on it and play it. And before we know it, here we are again. We're already a little bit overrun, so I'm going to just quickly whiz on over here and just remind you, if you love what we're hearing from here, you want a little bit more insights from the StockAbility team, find out what we do in our ongoing live trading rooms every single day, education, community, the lot. Head over to StockAbility.com. There's the website. It's real easy. Scroll down to the bottom of the page and you will see the 3 next complimentary webinars we have. Trading from side hustle to full-time income. We're running that twice. You can see on here on both April 7th and April 20th at different times to accommodate everyone. But the nearest one we've got is next Wednesday, just under a week away, the Crisis Proof Business. We have already seen myself, Ryan Watkins, Dan Bustamante, Brian, and the team doing our thing as well. So feel free to register. Come on, see what we are. Again, we're a company, we're approachable, we love to do what we do, and we love to help, and if there's anything we can help you with, we will definitely do it. That's how it works on there. We'd love to see you there as well. Man, what a show this has been. It's always a pleasure being on here. Big shout out to all of our viewers on here before we go. Mohammed, okay, Willie on here, Peggy, Todd, Rob, Dana, all of you guys on it. Siden's on the show as well, Chris, and if I haven't mentioned you, much love to all of you as well. Remember, this show is every week, Thursday at noon. We've got the Easter weekend next weekend, but we will still be here on Thursday as we wrap up going into a long weekend. If you're going to be taking spring break, enjoy your spring break. Get your plans. Be safe. Get out there and enjoy it. And also, again, if you want to look at the rerun of this show will be available here on Facebook Live. As soon as this recording ends, this live show ends as a recording. And then you'll be able to see us on the StockAbility page on YouTube channel as well. Go subscribe to that StockAbility YouTube channel. We are constantly putting out new content. We like to put our money where our mouth is. We like to show you live trades, see what we do, see what students are doing, and enjoy as well. Guys, my name is Sam Evans. This has been TakeStock Live, powered and brought to you by StockAbility. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Stay safe. Get refreshed as well. And I'll see you the same time next week at 12 Eastern here on Facebook Live. Thanks. Have a great week. Take care.